Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So in today's video I'm going to show you 3 different ways to paint carnations. So in my previous video I have shown you different perspective of carnation, how you can draw it, how you can sketch it, everything in detail. So if you want, you can refer to my previous video. I can give you a link into my description section. Now for today's video as well, I'm going to show you a little bit about how we can draw it, but in detail you can refer to my previous video. So you can have an oval shape or a round shape, and inside that you can have one more round shape, little smaller, keeping the circumference same. In this one I have kept an oval shape and then U kind of structure at the base, and then stems you can create for these two. So these two are my fully bloomed flower. Now let's create one more which is half bloomed, so a couple of petals are still visible. So again you can create a new kind of shape, the base or the green structure, and then we are going to create petals. So for the smaller circle that we have inside the bigger circle, I am creating petals in a little zigzag manner and having a little wavy pattern around the edge, zigzag pattern around the top of the petal, and just fill everything. So we have inner petal in the smaller circle, we have outer petals in the bigger circle, and in this one every petals are in the same direction. So this is more like a side perspective, and I'm going with speedway because I have already shown you how we can do it in detail in my previous video. So I would suggest you to please refer to my previous video to learn these things in detail. Now I'm done with my basic drawing. Let me rub all the unwanted pencil mark, but I can still see the drawing, right? So make sure you're also able to see it. Now with the help of size 2 round brush, I like to use round brush because it has very fine tip, which makes my life easier to make something fine element, and I can also have some bigger element as well. Now I'm using purple color, and this is very light shade of purple. So I have mixed a lot of water into my purple color, and I'm going through this oval shape, keeping the edges of the flower in my mind, and I'm filling everything. So I'm not thinking about petals as of now. I am just thinking about the outer area of the flower. So I should have a little zigzag pattern around that because carnation has a little zigzag pattern into the petal area, and I'm filling in between area as is, not thinking about the petal. Now for the second flower, I'm almost going to repeat the similar stuff but with little different color. So I have mixed little bit of red into my purple to make it little more vibrant, and again repeating the same thing. So again filling the whole area, keeping the edge of the flower in mind. So I'm not ruining the flower shape, but I'm not thinking about the petals. So I hope you understand what needs to be done here, and I'm repeating the same thing what we did in the first one. The only difference is perspective of the flower and the shade of the color. Now let it dry for some time. So I'm keeping these two flowers aside, and let's start with the first way to paint flower. So in this one we need to create small petals, keeping a fine negative space between the petal area. So this is my first petal, and then while creating second petal I'm keeping in mind that I don't need to touch the first petal at all. So I have a little bit distance in between the petals, and we can see a fine negative space around the petal area. So we are able to see the individual petals clearly, and that is why I like to use fine brush, because I can paint some fine elements as well. So I can see each and every petals clearly. I have very fine negative space in between the petals, and I'm using very dark shade of color. So less water, more color, and this is purple color that I'm using, and I'm purposefully using dark shade because I don't want to do much in this particular way to paint carnation, because this is pretty much simple. We need to create multiple petals one after another and keeping fine negative space in between the petals that we have. And it is done. I think this one is the easiest way, and I like this one the most. Now let's move to the green element. So you can simply fill the base of the flower that we have, and you can create the stems. You can use any shade of green color. So I'm using sap green color for the green elements that I have, and then I'm going to use little bit of darker shade to get some more texture around the green element that we have. So for now, nothing fancy, you just need to fill the green area with green color. Now first way to paint carnation is quite simple, as you can see. Now let's finish the second one. So for the second one, again I'm using purple color, but this time I'm using little darker shade because we need to outline the petal shape that we had. So I'm using little bit of darker shade of purple, and with the help of tip of my brush I'm again creating the petal shape so that we can see the petal shape clearly. We also have a little bit of shades in the petals. It is more like we have now light shade of purple color. So either you can keep it like this, having multiple petals with darker shade and lighter shade in between, or else you can do some extra line and pattern into the petal area that we have. So I have just outlined all the petals that I have, and then with the help of tip of the brush itself we can create more lines around each petals that we have. So take all your time to do it slowly and carefully. If you're not comfortable using bigger brush, try to use smaller brush or use only tip of your brush to paint something like this. And if you find creating fine elements is difficult for you, I would suggest to use pencil color maybe, or else you can use purple ball pen also to do all these things which we are doing. So you can outline the petal area, you can create more lines and pattern around the petal, and then you can just add some extra darker shade in between the petals, and we are almost done with second way to paint carnation as well. Now let me go back to the third one again. So now I'm using little darker shade of red and purple mix. So this is more like a pink shade. Third one is similar to what we did in the first one. So in this one again I'm going through all my petals, keeping distance between two petals that we have so that we can have little bit fine space. So in this one we don't have white space because we have already painted everything with lighter shade of pink color. So you can have a similar thing what we have in the first one. The only difference is we have lighter shade of pink in the behind. So it is more like we have multiple petals with darker shade and lighter shade. So I'm creating two layers, one with the lighter shade, one with the darker shade. In the second layer we are creating petals. In the first layer we have not created any petals. So just repeat the same thing throughout the petals that we have, and you can keep it until this, or else you can add more layers with more darker shade for this particular one. So nothing fancy, I'm going to repeat this particular step for all the petals that I have. Now let's jump into the second one. So with the help of damp brush, I'm just going around my flower with very light shade of purple color, and I'm glazing throughout the flower area that I have. so I can see the lines and pattern, I can see the petal area, but because of glazing it is more darker and on a loose side basically. So this is the fourth way you can say, so you can do something like this as well at the end. Now we are almost done. Now let's finish the last one. So my petals are now dried, so you can add more lines around the petal area which we usually see in the carnation flower. So you can do it either with the lighter shade or you can do it with the darker shade. So I don't want to overpower the lines and patterns, so I'm using a little bit of darker shade, not too much, and then you can go in between the corner area to make it little darker. And we are done with all the flowers that we have. All the three ways are completed. Please let me know which one you like the most. And to finish the carnation flower, I'm going to paint some leaves as well. So I'm mixing little bit of purple into my green color and I'm making it little darker, adding more lines and pattern at the base of the flower, the green element of the flower area. And you can do the same thing for the stems area to make it a little darker, to add some more texture around the stem and the base of the flower. And then you can paint leaf. So carnation leaf is quite simple, so I'm creating one stroke leaf. I am more focused on the flowers rather than the leaf. So for the leaf I'm not doing anything fancy, just creating one stroke leaves. You can have a little bit serrated leaf, so you can add two strokes together to have some serration into the leaf area, or you can simply create one stroke leaf, little longer and pointed. So I have mixed a little bit of purple into my green to make it a different color. And that's it, we are done with today's video. I'm hoping this video is helpful for you guys, and please do let me know if you have any feedback for me. And thank you so much for watching, and please let me know which one you like the most. So see you guys in the next video.